What's up, guys? It's Christopher DAV1D on ECFTVN, Aerovapor on YouTube. Today I am here to tell you all about the Power Baby. Alright, so really quick, I'm just going to give you a close-up of the Power Baby and what it comes with. Normally it'd be in a box. I do not have the box, so I start over here. Right here we have the Ego style regulator. The Power Baby is a 5-volt device, and so this regulator will bring you to either 3.3, 4, or 4.8 volts. I'll show you how you work that in a minute. You also get a USB cable to charge your Power Baby or charge any device that you'd like. They give you a juice bottle with needle tip and silicone cover, then 2 CE5 style cardos with the replaceable innards, just like the BB Novas. These are actually, I'm pleasantly surprised with these. They're working really well. I think they're higher ohms, so I've been using it on higher volts, but working really well. One has short wicks, one has long. They do have whistle tips, however you can use your Stardust caps for them. So then you have 3 adapters. You have one, which is a Nokia adapter, if there's even Nokia phones left out there, or your iTaste. So you can actually charge your iTaste off of the Power Baby. An iPhone, iPad, iPod charger, and then it's like a micro USB which charges the device. The way it works is you just grab the cord. The cord has a USB end, and then this end. You stick one of the adapters into it, and there you have it. This particular one is for charging the Power Baby. So the middle port is the in, hopefully you could see that, and that is where you would plug it into your computer, into a wall wart, whatever you want, and charge it. Or if you wanted to, say, charge your iPhone, you would put it into the out port, the USB side, plug in the iPhone adapter, and of course for the first, oh, here we go, and then you can actually plug in your iPhone, and that is charging off of the Power Baby. Well, now it is charging off the Power Baby. You have to hit the power button, fire button on here. Now to use this as a pass-through, a sort of a pass-through, if you're charging it or charging something else, you can vape right off of it. It's just that when you hit the fire button to vape, it is going to stop charging whatever you have plugged in there, but it'll still work. The same with when you're charging the device. You can still use it as a pass-through, but as I said, as it's charging it, when you fire the button, it's going to stop charging the device for a second. As soon as you let go, it goes back to charging. Just an up-close of all the LEDs. You have 4 blue lights here, indicating your power source. The ones that turn purple when you fire, showing that, like right now I'm at 50% because I have 2 blue lights, which is hard to see. 2 blue lights and 2 purple. Ignore the red light, that's just the fire light. When it's fully charged, you'll have 4 blue lights. After you vape, the lights will go off and it'll show you, you can hit the button again and it'll just show you exactly how much power is left in it. 510 connection, fits great in your hand. The fit and finish, the feel of it, it's like that rubberized plastic, but very, very sturdy, unlike the original Tekk Mod, which everybody knows broke fairly easy. Has this button on the side, which has more than enough feedback for me to tell that you're firing it. I haven't had many issues with it. unless you push on it in a weird or wrong direction or you catch a bottom corner, it won't fire. You have to make sure your finger's completely on the button and fire it. But that is the close-up of the Power Baby, and now I will get into the review. Alright, so now that I kind of showed you the close-up of the Power Baby, what you're getting with the Power Baby kit, the functions for charging it, so on and so forth, let's get into the review. Let me take a pull first. By the way, I have like a 3 ohm coil at full 5 volts. It's performing really well. Maybe my new favorite mod. Now, if you were to ask me aesthetically speaking what my favorite mod is to look at, it would be my Atom, because it just looks gorgeous. But if you were asking me about the form and function and what I'm going to use all day and all that, the Power Baby has become that mod for me. I'm going to tell you a quick story. One of my very first high voltage mods was the Tekk Mod charger mod. And for everybody, I think everybody back then had a Tekk Mod. It charged anything you wanted. I think it had 4,500 milliamp hours in it, so it would last days. Ran at a consistent 5 volts, just like this does. But you could also charge your iPhone, your whatever, your iPad, anything you wanted off of the device. So you can all vape on it and charge on it. So it was great for trips, great for when you were going out. I take my kids to a lot of like theme parks and amusement parks, and so for things like that, it just worked great. The problem with it is that it broke very easily. It tended to get a small crack on top near the connector. Why do I feel like this is the audio is gonna go off on this? So anyway, it would get a small crack near the connector. Once that crack formed, it would eventually get worse and worse and worse until the connector just started spinning and it didn't work anymore for vaping. So when that one broke, I really wanted a new one. But the problem was I refused to pay $125 for another one that was only going to last me a couple months. So I started asking modders I knew, can you make it? Long story short, I never got one. The closest that came out was a guy, I'm not going to say his name, came out with a mod that was just like it, but it had 4 18650s in it. Tried to get in line for it, but I just missed out, which kind of was lucky for me because the guy made like 25 of them and only about 2 people got theirs, and it was around 160 bucks, so dodged the bullet. So now we have the Power Baby. Power Baby can be purchased at Nicfitnation.com for $69. $69 for 5,000 or 5,200 milliamp hours. There's some question, which I'll get into with that. I mean, to me, you can't beat that price. You get the full kit, everything I showed you, plus a box, and you just can't beat it. Like I said, the fit and finish of this is sturdy. It feels like it's going to last. It doesn't feel like cheap shit plastic. It feels like it's going to last. Fits in your palm of your hand perfectly. The button is in the perfect spot. You can fire with your pointer finger or your thumb. And just vapes like a machine. 5 volts. So obviously, if you're using it without an adapter, you're going to be using standard resistance cardos. You're not going to be wanting to pump up a low resistance cardo at 5 volts. While we're speaking of regulators, let's pull out... Where the frig did the regulator? The regulator. Okay, so the way this works is it's an Ego style connection, and this regulates your 5 volts device down to what you want. Now, I once saw a review that the guy said he could put it on any Ego battery and regulate it to higher voltages or to whatever he wants. I'm not really sure that that's true because it's not a booster, it's a regulator. This does not boost the voltage, it regulates the voltage. So it cuts the voltage down to wherever you have it set to. Now the way you change from 3.3, 4, or 4.8 volts is you have to fire the button to turn the regulator on. I mean, that would make sense, right? So right now it's red. That's the 4.8 setting. If I touch it, it's going to go to the first setting, which is 3.3. So 3.3 volts. Touch it, click the regular ego click button. Now it's a purple color, which doesn't really come off well on camera. That is 4 volts. Hit it again, and you have a red color, which is 4.8 volts. And you also just saw one of the forms of protection kick in there. There is a 12-second cutoff. A little bit long, but you know, I've almost reached the cutoff before, so I think it's perfect. You know, 5 seconds on some devices is way too little. So to me, a 12-second cutoff is really, really great. Nicfitnation got with the manufacturers to make sure that they put the cutoff in there. This is the second generation of it. They did have a first one. The quickest way to tell the difference is you see the little ports on top. The second version comes with these, you son of a bitch, these little rubber caps that you can plug the holes with. So if you get these rubber caps, it's the second version. I don't think they're going to be sending out any more of the version 1, so I think you're pretty safe that you'll have the version 2, but just ask him, am I getting the second version, which I'm pretty sure you are. So let me put a cardo on here. I don't know what this cardo is, so I'm going to go down to 3.3 volts. And it's going to be low resistance. Now watch this. I'm going to fire the button now. That's one of the little downsides for me, is that it takes a second for the power to get to the regulator to get to your cartomizer. So when you hit the button, it's a solid second before the device fires. So I hit it, and then it fires a second later. Let's get risky. Let's put it to 4 volts. Now, this does have pulse. Fudge, man. Fucking dropping everything. It does have pulse width modulation. So putting on your normal voltmeter is not going to do much. I have gotten a reading when I shoot it at the straight 5 volts. Every once in a while, it'll give me a reading of, it's like 5.2 volts, I think it is. So, yeah, your standard meters are not going to work on this because of the pulse width modulation. Also, because of that pulse width modulation, take a hit again. This is supposed to be 3.3 volts. You know what? We could actually test this theory. So that was 3.3 volts on the Power Baby. Let me go on to my charged Ego Twist. And this is 3.3 volts. As you could see, getting a ton more vapor off the Power Baby at 3.3 volts, which is consistent for what we have come to learn about pulse width modulation. The way that they set these mods in China or wherever is higher than what we are used to. 3.3 volts on this is really like a 4 volts, or 4 volts on your Ego Twist or your Lava Tube or your Pro Vari or your Darwin. So 3.3 on here is really closer to 4 volts of what we are used to. 4 volts is probably closer to 4.6 volts, I would say. Like, I've matched them up, and that's about where I'm at with that. And then the 4.8, it probably is around 5.2 volts. So just expect that if you're using low resistance, especially if you're using like a 1.5 ohm, which I have not tested on this yet. Definitely crank it down to 3.3, and that may even be too high. I'm not sure. I'll have to test that out and get back to you on that.
So pulse width modulation definitely pumps out harder than what it's saying. Now we have battery power. I showed you the battery indicators. I have 2 dots left out of 4. There are 2 18650s in here, and the way everybody's advertising it, well, the way Nicfitnation advertises it and other reviewers is that it's 5,000 milliamp hours. The little pamphlet that I got with it, which of course I don't have with me because that's just Murphy's Law, you know, why would I actually have it during a review? The pamphlet says 5,200 milliamp hours. A Chinese site that sells it also says 5,200 milliamp hours, which would make sense. So that would mean it would be 2 2,600 milliamp hour 18650s in here. So I think that's more likely than the 5,000 milliamp hours. I've seen a lot of 18650s that are 2,600. I don't know about 2,500. So it seems like more websites and the pamphlet and everything say 5,200. I don't know for sure. I haven't taken it apart to see what the milliamp hour is on the battery. So it's between 5,000 and 5,200. Bottom line, I have been vaping this for 2 days straight without charging it, and I have half of my battery power left. This is the CE5 that it comes with, by the way, on red mode. Take a puff to see how that goes. Performing surprisingly well. These work really well. Every once in a while, I won't get a dry hit, but I'll get that hit before a dry hit. But never a dry hit. Performing really well. Even with this shit whistle tip, I really like these. It has 2 O-rings at the bottom to make sure you don't get any leaky juice. One of them came with short wicks, the other with long wicks. And again, these are replaceable heads just like the VB Nova. They also can be rebuilt very easy. There's videos out there on how to do it, but you can easily rebuild these heads. So, like I said, 5,200 milliamp hours in here. I've had it going for 2 days, 2 full days straight. It is right now like 10 o'clock at night, and I took it off the charger not this morning, but yesterday morning. So I've been going for 2 days, and I still have half the battery power. So figure you're getting probably the second half of the battery goes quicker than the first half. So I'm going to say 3 days. I've gotten 4 out of it, but I'm just going to call it to be safe and say that it's a definite 3 days that you can get, depending on your vape pace. But also keep in mind, I did not charge anything through that period of time. So if you're charging your iPhone, you're obviously going to use more battery power than if you're just using it to vape. Last thing about this regulator is if you have any other straight 5-volt devices, you can use these on it to regulate the voltage. These can be purchased separately if you want to get extra at Nicfitnation, or even if you don't have the Power Baby and you just want a regulator for a 5-volt device. They're like $7 at Nicfitnation, which, I mean, shit, can't beat that. What else do I have? Short circuit protection. This thing has short circuit protection, and I can vouch for that because it happened to me. I built a coil on my Penelope and I went to vape it, and all of a sudden all the lights came on and it shut off. And I'm thinking, oh my god, I just broke the Power Baby. I almost cried and then said, wait a minute, and I remembered back to my tech days, and I said, let me try plugging it in. So I plugged it in to its power source, all the lights blinked, it came back on, and it was fine. Did it again, and it shorted again. Turned the machine off. So I opened up my Penelope. Long story short, I found that I had shorted out the Penelope coil that I made. So it's good to know there's short circuit protection in here. If God forbid you get a bad atomizer, you build a bad head or a bad coil, it will shut it off so you do not ruin the device. If, like I said, in the case that that happens to you, all you have to do is take the charger that it comes with, plug it in, and it will reset itself. Now this is what it looks like when it's charging. You can see the lights going up and then back down, and then up and then back down. So obviously as they get more full, like the next light will stay lit and then the next two will flash, and that one will stay lit and the next one will flash, until eventually all lights stay on. So fully charged, all the lights will be on while it's plugged in. Like I was saying before, you can use this as a pass-through, but it'll stop charging when you fire it, and I'll show you that. So I'm firing it, it's showing that I have 2 dots of battery left, and then I'm going to let go of the button. And then it goes right back to charging. So it's a pass-through in the sense of you can use it while you're charging it, but at the same time it's not going to charge while you are firing it. One complaint I have about it is the 510 connection is just a hair loose. Like, I can just barely move it. So if you have like a Cardo or something on there, it's moving a lot more than it really is, just because, there you go. Mind you, the device is moving a little too, so that's not as bad as the wiggle is. Bottom line is it has a tiny wiggle to it. I talked to Primo over at Nicfitnation, and he said that he did get some of them that were like that, and he either fixed them or pulled them out of stock. So you should not have to worry about having a loose connector. I'm not even worried about mine. My biggest concern is that later down the line, it might eventually get worse and worse and worse until it gives out. But the wiggle itself isn't really, it's not enough to bother me. Overall, the device is a complete win. I love it. I can't get enough of it. That's all I've been using because I love I have an iPhone. I am an iPhone junkie. And anybody who has an iPhone knows that the battery sucks shit. So I love the fact that I could take this out somewhere and use it as a charger. Even if I bring another device, like say I take my kids to Disney, which I'm going in like 2 weeks. What I would bring is this and my Ego Twist. This I would use to charge my phone and my camera, and then the Ego I would mainly use to vape. It works really well for being able to charge out and about. I know my iPhone dies constantly from taking pictures with my kids when we're at the park and such, so it works really well for charging anything. I have not tested how many charges you can get out of an iPhone. Obviously, you can probably tell if you find out how many milliamp hours it is. This one's just over 5,000, so if you do the division, you can find out how many times you can charge your iPhone off of it. Last thing I have is what's also available at Nicfitnation, which I want to try and get my hands on one, is the Power Daddy. What the Power Daddy is, in essence, is something that could go along with this. It's $25. It's not an e-cig, but it's another charger at 5,000 or 5,200 milliamp hours. So you can use your Power Daddy to charge your Power Baby, or use it to charge your phone, or use it to charge e-cigs. It's basically a Power Baby without the 510 connection, and it's a little more like a thinner design. I think it's like a thinner square. So that's something to think about also to get. If you travel a lot and you have a lot of electronics like I do, I would definitely get the Power Daddy, just because if you have the Power Baby and the Power Daddy, then you know for at least a week worth of if you used it nothing but for vaping and charging vapes, you're going to get at least a week of vaping out of it. So I think it's a good investment. For 25 bucks, can't really beat it. And for 69 bucks, you definitely cannot beat the Power Baby. So that's it. I am definitely going to pick up another one just in case, God forbid, something happens to this one. I've been telling everybody about it, telling everybody who was a Tekk Mod junkie like I was. I've been telling everybody about it to go get it, because it is just like the Tekk, except much more sturdy. It seems much more well built. It doesn't have those crazy, ugly, shitty seams that the that the Tekk had. It just looks and feels great, and it works even better. So what else can you say about it? Sorry this went so long, 25 minutes, holy shit. Make sure you guys tune in to TVN Friday nights. I'll be on with Jay. Also check out my friend Eva's show. She's on Sundays, 8 Eastern Standard Time for both of them. And I will catch you guys later.